Hello, everyone. Welcome to Trade and Connectivity Challenge 2021 virtual briefing session with Legend Logistics. My name is Billy Law, representing Agorize and Enterprise Singapore as your moderator of this session. Today, it is our pleasure to have Dr. Alex Lin, Chief Technology Officer of Legend Logistics, to walk us through the ins and outs of the challenge statements, awaiting for your solution. So the rundown for today's session is fairly straightforward. So in the next couple of 40 or 60 minutes, we'll start off with having Dr. Alex Lin to present the first challenge statement, which is a digital solution that can provide a real-time visualization of warehouse facilities to improve efficiency of warehouse space planning and optimization of warehouse space utilization. And then we'll move on to any Q&A sessions for the first challenge statement. And then after that is done, we'll move on to the second challenge statement, which is a solution that can automatically allocate vehicles based on delivery schedules and real-time availability of the container loading bay and inform drivers on their designated lots before they enter the container loading bay. After that, we'll follow with the second Q&A session based on this second challenge statement. So if you are listening in and you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to submit your questions on the Q&A panel of this Zoom webinar. And please note that this session is currently being recorded, and we will be uploading it onto the challenge platform at tradeandconnectivity.innovation-challenge.sg for future reviewing. So now, without further ado, over to you, Dr. Alex Lin. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Billy. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody who is online. And I have my team, Raymond, as well as my CEO, CK Dan, in the session. So I will go ahead and share what is the problem statement that we have. I think, Billy, I think there's some adjustment to what you have just quickly shared, but doesn't matter. I think we will make the slides available for everybody. So I'm going to do a very quick sharing of the slides. All right, so Trade and Connectivity Challenge 2021 from Legend Logistics. All right, so this is where the email for, if you have any other follow-up question, you can email us directly to raymond.lin or alex.lin, legendlogisticslimited.com. All right. So I'm just going to give a very, very quick understanding, but I believe that most of you would have checked out who Legend Logistics Limited is. So we, in a nutshell, is an integrated specialized logistic provider, which means that we have quite a fair bit of assets. Think, for example, that we are handling the ISO tank. So for logistics, there's a tank for liquid bulk. We are having dry, which is a container, so the typical TEU. We do commodity, largely perishable product to help our customers. So our customer ship stuff such as palm oil, but we are also in the things such as oversized logistics, for example, that we are involved in the wind turbine installations in some of the continents. So you can see that it's pretty wide and very, very broad, but we are asset-based, which also means that we own vessel, we own tank. We are one of the largest ISO tank provider in Southeast Asia, if not that eventually it could be Asia and globally. So that is where we are. And of course, that in some of the difficult places where, for example, Batam, where there isn't a deep water port down there, we also run the roll and roll on, roll off, but basically to help our customer to be able to get their cargo from places such as Batam, Bintang, and various Indonesia archipelago to bring their cargo into Singapore in order for them to be mounted and go on to the ocean-faring big container freight. So we run a couple of operations also in India, and expanding our footprint in towards Middle East, Europe. Eventually, I think we are setting up for North America also. So this is basically a very, very quick overview. So we are a logistic player, but we are different from most of the other logistic players who will be very, very focused on just one simple lane. We are also doing something that is quite specialized because that is where our customer want us to be. So we handle most of the difficult one. So in a nutshell, that we are the one that look at our customer in a very, very different lens as compared to a generic service provider, logistics provider, who are taking care of their core competence, right? So this is who Legends is. And so I'm going to quickly share the very first problem statement that we have. You'll notice that it also sounds different from what Billy has mentioned, largely because we reorganize and put it as a good problem statement to help you to understand, especially the impact, right? So in our business, I mentioned that we deal with a lot of ISO tank, so the physical tank. So we own significant number of them, many thousands of them, and these are the tank are the container required for our customer to be able to load up with their cargo, usually liquid. For example, palm oil is one of the good example. Now the tank have to go through a lot of operation, but in most of the overseas depot, the tracking of the tanks has been done manually. That means that through paper document, eventually they will be uploaded the information offline into the system. That also means that that poses a significant difficulty because that the real-time informations and analytics may not be available. Which all depends on the operator going through how fast they can upload the information, as well as whether the information is timely, checking, etc. As a business increase, as you know, that logistics supply chain is being impacted right now. So ISO tank utilization is actually become very critical because there are many customers wanted the tank, and we have to be able to turn around the tank. We want to be able to know that the tank how I put it is clean, get them ready after every voyage. And that directly impact on the ISO tank utilization, because if we know that whether we can apply a first in, first out, whether the tank is inside the yard, whether it stay in the yard for too long, etc. And that directly impact on the profitability of the depot operations. So that is the current situation. Of course, at the very first thing, some of you may be thinking, they say, hey, you know, isn't that all the document that flow through? Yes, there are documents that flow through, but most of the documents are still in the form of emails scattered. Batching them and putting them is typically a difficult manual process. All right. So we are looking for innovation that is something that can be drastically change all these things. We're not looking for incremental innovation where we will go back to the data, pull the data, and eventually sort them out and do all this thing. Innovation that can drastically change the way that we are able to collect data, instantly recognize them. That is something that we are looking for. All right, so this is the very first problem. So let me do it into detail a little bit. So on the picture down here, the left-hand side, top left, this is where you can see the tank. All right, so the tank is basically like the 20-foot container size. It's basically a round container mounted on a metal stainless steel frame. That enables the tank to go on normal container shipping, go on the so-called flatbed of the normal the TEU, or what's it called, prime mover trailer. All right, so this is what a tank look like. And of course, that some of them are using a slightly different tank, as you can see on the bottom left picture. Right, so this is some other project that we are doing. So big bulk cargo, and also on the top right hand side, you can see the container. But specifically, these are the reefer container. Let me say refrigerated container. So we are specialized in all these things. Of course, we handle third-party logistics such as global freight management and everything. Now, which also means these are the various assets that pass through us, and we own the assets, and we would like to know them. This is different from other service providers whom they may not necessarily own such assets. We own a tank, and then we will technically speaking, leasing of the tank to our customer for them to load their cargo. When they are done, all right, we return the tank, we will need to clean them up, get them ready for the next customer. All right, so this is how tank operation work. All right, so we will drill deeper into it as we look at what are the possible so-called solutions and innovation that you have. This is one example of the tank cleaning operation. So you notice that they are all come in and we clean. On the average, that we are able to clean about 600 of them a month from one of the India depot. So, but we are looking at pushing the volume up to 1,000, which also means that turning, tracking, and moving the tank fast, it become a critically important and required business, or rather the operation that we want to have. Okay, so definitely innovation and a lot of improvement is required down there, and we need to know the whereabouts of the tank, and especially that impact the what's it called, the profitability of the depot, as I mentioned earlier. Right, so this is the situations that we mentioned. Okay, as we work with the partner, we will go in deeper to understand that how much will it cost in terms of ability to clean them, ability to turn around fast, ability to work out a proper schedule to know that, because every tank when they are in the yard, they may or may not be incurring the leasing, the rental that the tank is residing in it. Also there's a various period of time. So a good algorithm for us to be able to turn around the tank and optimize the, or rather reduce the cost, become very, very important. All right, so that is a very, very quick overview of all these things. So what do we desire? So desire, of course, as being a measurable outcome, that we want the time reduction in terms of putting data into our system. So currently it's done manually, so yes, it's going to take a longer time from the moment that thing happen, event happen, to the data finally coming to the system. There is a gap. If the we are looking forward to innovation that we're able to capture all this information instantly. So there are various possible innovation that you can think of. All the tanks are identifiable. So they have the number, they have the look, they have fuel, and including that, even sometimes the tank went through the whole voyage, there may be dents on it and all the unmistakable mark, right? So tracking and monitoring is number one, preferably able to reduce the time so that it can be as real time as possible. All right, so we also need to be ensure that the data will be made available globally on our system so that we will be able to monitor them remotely and analyze them remotely. And of course, most importantly, utilizing the data that reduce human error. All right, last but not least, okay, by having the ability to track and eventually analyze the data that allow us to now be able to process it a lot faster. And that also means that improve in our depot profitability and increasingly able to capture more new business. Because current situation is that supply chain disruption, able to grab a capacity, a tank, it become very critical. So we wouldn't want any of the tank that's either in the yard. Okay, so that is what it is, and I can open up this one, the very first one, as the Q&A for the time being, or if not, that we can press on to talk about the second problem statement.
Sure.
Any quick question that we have right now?
There are no questions as of now, but maybe we'll give a couple of seconds for the attendees to submit their questions. Because obviously there has been a lot of information. Maybe it's time for to digest. If not, then we can come back. Obviously, we still have time later on for the second round of Q&A. So let's wait a couple of seconds. If not. Okay, oh, we do have one question.
Okay, there's one Q&A question. What is current process to wash? How long is the downtime and other inefficiency?
Right.
Okay, so yeah, Bill, Billy, you want to answer the question or something like that?
Oh, no. You can answer a question, or anyone from Raymond or anyone else.
Okay. So the current process is that, take for example, we talk about return. So when the tank is used, okay, sometimes you don't get return. Sometimes you actually stay at the customer location because the customer basically use it as a storage and not on the voyage. So I think that is one of the situation. But other than that, the tank will come back to the depot and it will be sent for washing. As I mentioned, that our depot have the capacity to wash about 600 per month. All right, so that enables us to do quite a lot of turnaround. Okay, it is going to be difficult to quantify right now in terms of how long each tank take. And for us is that it is less of the concern because this particular problem statement will focus on the tracking and getting the data inside, right? Getting the data inside. So it is not about the washing that's inefficient. All right, so it's not about washing that's inefficient. You got no choice. I really have to wash it because if you are using it for some chemical, the next cycle cannot be a food grade stuff. You have to go through a few cycles before you can turn it. You can use it for food grade items. So usually the process will likely to keep and hold the tank to use for the same category, so that it is less interruption. All right. So I will answer Jay Lee questions. Anonymous have asked a question: is this system going to have a portal that allow for external vendor to use or track certain data? The short answer is yes, it can be, but we are not going to fix on a solution until we look at all the possible solutions, which is why we leave it as a problem and not looking at the solution. So it's up to you to propose a solution that solve our problem. Right? Our problem is basically we want to have the tracking data that eventually allow us to do a deep analysis. And the analysis eventually will also be able to help us to manage the inventory, which is the tank. Which one to go first, which one to go later. And if those things can be automated, of course, that is good. But I think the very first thing is to get the data into the system timely, accurately, as comprehensively. All right. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. So.
Okay, I think that's the questions for now.
If they can they unmute the mic and ask, or if that is easier for them?
I think we can move on to the second one. I think people will keep raising the questions as we go along. Okay. Thank you.
So if there's no question for time being, thanks for the two questions from Jaylee and Anonymous. I think of the question is okay, and you can also email us directly or set up a time to have a separate conversation to understand the processes. I think most importantly for you, for the audience, is that what is the impact? Because that is how for you to evaluate whether it's a problem worth solving or not. All right. Okay, so going forward, the second problem statement that we have is that I mentioned earlier, that we deal with our customer, and we deal with our customer in a very, very deep manner, because we create solutions to help them to solve their the very, very critical problem. So places that they can't go very well, and logistics they can't do themselves very well. So our focus is very much customer centric, and it can be customized. That's why we are specialized logistics. Now, having understand that also, that you're looking at current logistics supply chain situations, is that one of the very, very key issues that the supply chain become a little bit unpredictable. Unpredictable as in the sense that you know that there will be delay, but you don't know how long is the delay, and you don't even know whether you can get the capacity to ship your cargo. Now, having this kind of problem, and this is totally turning what previously logistic supply chain is, which is usually just in time, that impact on the customer, both shipper as well as the consignee, two sides. So now when such event happen, okay, we observe there's a lot of so-called bullwhip effect. Because when the customer, when they want to ship, then they start calling. And when they call that time, maybe there's no capacity. And then it would trigger them to next time who want to basically order more. Right? So it start having a whipping effect. The further away from the source of information, the wilder the fluctuation. That is not helping, which is actually the result of the current shipping price. So you can see that the shipping price have a lot of swing, although that it is in favor of the service provider like us, but it is not very good for everybody in the ecosystem. So in order for bullwhip to be able to temper down, so the only thinking is that informations, okay, of the whole supply chain can be and should be acquired much earlier. So instead of being very totally opaque, the supply information, if that can be earlier, and that will facilitate a lot of early booking. So for example, if you know the cargo is going to go out in, let's say, get ready in about 1 month time, booking can be early, can be ahead. Now, such information usually is available from the customer, but they usually, from the shipper, but usually there will be a lot of adjustment along the way. All right, so there will be quite a fair bit of adjustment because the customer could be originally thinking of this batch of palm oil shipping to, let's say, India. And along the way, as the time go nearer to the shipping date, the customer may make some minor adjustment. Instead of shipping to India, he could be redirected over to, let's say, Penang, all right, or Pakistan, different places. So such adjustment do happen, but minor. These are considered minor, and usually they are pretty well managed if such information flow can be so-called connected and make available. So that's why I'm putting another statement down here. Is that current opacity resulting in the bullwhip effect in the booking of capacity and pricing fluctuation, and it can be quite wild. And when that thing happens, it will impact on the profitability and availability to offer a service to our customer consistently. All right. The most important thing for us is to be able to offer the service to our customer consistently. When they need to ship something, we have the space available for them. So I can also share very briefly that what we are doing right now is that we just go ahead and book ahead. And booking ahead have a disadvantage because if you are not able to consume it, the capacity is wasted, right? And whether I book enough or not, that's another question. So these are the various operational problem that have. All right. So some of operation condition that just I mentioned very, very quickly is that because we are the specialists in doing all these things, so we are very, very ad hoc reactive. And supply chain disruption because of pandemic result in a lot of uncertainty, right? So also the growing demand for our customer across different ports. So now the whole formula get a lot more complex. Now, one of the things I highlight just now is that our customer, instead of thinking of just in time previously, okay, in order for their manufacturing, for example, people who buy palm oil is for food manufacturing. So in order for their food manufacturing line not to go down because of not enough supply, the chances of them, they will start ordering more. All right, so when they order more, it put additional stress into the supply chain as well as the manufacturing. Okay, so there's a very complex analytical problem happening down here because of information that is opaque. And connecting to all this information is one of the innovation is probably needed. All right. So for this particular problem statement, okay, what are the measurement of success? Number one, of course, that we are able to receive and visualize the shipping demand. One of the key is actually visualization, because a lot of time planning, okay, visualization is actually a lot better than just plain number. All right, many have to be done ahead of time in order for us to reduce the friction, okay, or in terms of data transfer. As I mentioned, the data will change, the information will change. Right. The second measurement of success is that basically allow us to be able to automate the different product and services information that our employee must key in right now. So currently the information are done manually, right? So customer, for example, salespeople will input the information through their CRM, and this information doesn't flow very effectively because sometimes, okay, it's actually a bit too late. All right. So in order to do that, we will be able to increase productivity, very important, and most importantly, actually able to close sales. All right. Last but not least, is one thing we're looking for is to provide the global visibility of shipment for the customer on their own ERP system, because they're getting our customer to have another system. As you know, that most of people do not want that. But if the information eventually is flow back to the ERP system, they will be able to view it on their ERP, for example, SAP. It will be something that they would like to have. All right. So all this will directly provide us with the benefit of providing very, very accurate forecast. All right. For us is, of course, to generate a lot of revenue, and most importantly, okay, reduce the bullwhip, which is able to anticipate business cycle and for strategic planning. All right. So these are the very, very key top level benefit we are talking about. Of course, that they are tangible, what's it called, quantifiable benefit. All right, in terms of millions of business being generated and saved. All right, so I will open for question and answer for this one. Yes.
Okay, let's give a couple of seconds. So if any attendees would like to even ask the questions, you can raise your hand and I can unmute you. Okay, so we have one question or two questions. So the first one, is there any existing models that you're working with or have attempted?
Okay, I'm not too sure what do you mean by model. If you're asking whether do we have a system or not, that is a human. All right, so it's very, very manual, but these people have a deep knowledge about what is going on. So human is still probably a better computer. But if you start talking about our business going to double for year over year, coming year is going to be more than double, and human is insufficient. Training a human is more difficult than training a computer where the thing is coded inside out there. But if human is the best model, we will go for it. All right, so that's the reason why we're looking for innovation. Yeah. The second anonymous attendee is asking, what are some examples of the data input and output for analysis, and what system will there be information be extracted from? Okay, I think the key thing is that there are many information all over the place. For example, you can be looking at the year-long data from the annual report of the customer. You could be looking at the industry report, or what is industry trend. All right, so this is one part of it, but you also be looking at our customer end to know that what is our production schedule. So effectively, that's your ERP. And you could be looking at the information where the customer shipping at the point of shipping. There will be their commercial invoice, bill of lading, for example, and plus vessel informations, the voyage, booking time, etc. So these are actually from multiple different sources. All right. So all this information can be used for analysis. For example, that if you know the BL, you basically know the cargo, value. And from there, you can also start prioritizing which one to get shipped first and which one can wait slightly later. All right, so I'm putting it very, very generic, but you know that such information able to be synthesized, collecting them, it enable a lot of deep thinking and be able to optimize throughout the whole supply chain. All right. The next anonymous attendee asking the questions, are you looking for a solution that is looking to merge current systems that are being used across different teams, or that one start from scratch? It can be from scratch. That shouldn't be an issue. We are looking for a solution. All right, a solution that is able to address that. So yes, it can be from scratch. It can be integrated. Chances that when you look at collecting data from a customer, or rather the shipper ERP system, then it has to be integrated with their ERP system and not something they will start from scratch. All right. But unless you have a system that they can work seamlessly without integration, I think they are fine with that. All right. So we are dealing with the Legend side, I think is within our control, but over at the shipper customer side and at the consignee, the buyer side, we don't have a control over their system, but they will eventually have to be somewhat linked. All right, because data happen to everybody, not just us. What is the time frame for POC and prototype? If you have it available, of course, we will be happy to talk about POC and prototype. So we would like to look at what are the possible solutions that you have. All right, and yes, definitely something that we are interested to start working on prototype and even a solution. Yeah. It'll be good that I know who it is, because anonymous is I really do not know, and it's going to be difficult for me to identify and talk to you. All right.
Looks like we have a couple of shy attendees. It's okay. If anyone has any questions, even for the first problem statement, feel free to raise now, or you can just directly raise your hand if you want to ask Dr. Alex in here directly. Let's give a couple of seconds.
Okay, any question at all? Yeah.
Okay. All right, I think that's it for now. Again, you can always reach out to the Legend Logistics team as well from the emails that were presented earlier. And also you can reach out to us on the challenge platform if you have any questions. So I think that should wrap it up. Do you have any other additional things to add, maybe from even Raven or Elaine or the CK from the Legend Logistics team?
Okay, so CK, thanks. CK is one of the most deep knowledge person in this particular integrated logistic business. Okay, you'll be very, very surprised that if you have a chance to engage with him, okay, you will learn a lot more things in logistics. Now, I'm just going to do a very, very quick summary of the two problems that we offer down here. You notice that we put it very, very open and wide open because we want to invite deep and good innovation. The very first one is about data acquisition. So do not limit yourself to just thinking of what is currently available. So you could be thinking about having some wonderful robots or digitalization and whatever, okay, to be able to capture the data at the point of exchange. And that information can be uploaded directly into the system, structure and clean, allow things to move quickly. So there's the very first one. Currently, the information is not timely. So it's not that we don't have information, but information is not timely. So we have a database keeping all this thing. Eventually, we will download into Excel to look at it, but it is a little bit too late and too later. So that is the very first one. And the impact can be very, very deep, and it's just not for Legend business, but it will basically impact on a lot of what's it called, container depot. So that is number one. The second one is that the problem will impact on many, many logistic players because of the information opacity. And you notice that it involves our shipper, involve our consignee. How can such information be able to extract? How can make it very enticing for the customer, all right, which is the shipper or the consignee, to want to offer the information into the platform, into the portal, into a system, and into Legend, so that they will be able to get a good service, predictable, and almost like guaranteed space capacity, which will help them to reduce their logistic costs, especially during this very turbulent time. So you'll notice that this is a huge benefit for almost everybody. And for some of the service providers, this will be a huge market that you will be able to tap on, moving first from Legend Logistics. And as a question, a person anonymous asked, are we ready for POC or prototype? Yes, definitely. So we would like to see what are the possible solutions that you have, and we can work together to tidy it up, because we are the one who know the business logistic and know where the problems are. All right, with that, thank you very much. I hand the time back to Billy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alex Lin. And thank you for our attendees as well for taking the time to join us and asking some very interesting questions. I hope today's session gave you new insights and gave you better clarity on the challenges that Legend Logistics is facing. And again, thank you so much for Dr. Alex Lin and the team here for taking the time to for your presentation. Again, if you have any further questions, you can always come back and ask us on the Challenge platform. And if you are new and you have yet to register, we sincerely invite you to do so now at tradeandconnectivity.innovation-challenge.sg. We're looking forward to seeing your submissions by December 30th of this year. Again, thank you so much. I think this wraps up today's session. We look forward to seeing everyone very soon. Have a good rest of the day and evening. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.